Welcome to the Deep Dive and our series, Word and Witness, a Messianic Bible Study, chapter by chapter. We're really glad you're joining us.
Yeah, welcome.
We're diving into the richness of Yahweh's Word. Today, it's Genesis 11, a chapter that feels like such a crossroads, doesn't it?
It really does, a major pivot point.
So our mission today is to unpack its connections, through the rest of Scripture and figure out its relevance for us as followers of Yeshua.
Right.
And just to note, as we go, we'll be using the sacred names Yahweh and Elohim for God and Yeshua for Jesus, kind of inviting you into that messianic perspective with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Genesis 11 is, like you said, a bridge. It links that early human story, creation, fall, flood, all that universal stuff,
Right.
to the very start of Yahweh's specific redemptive plan through Abram.
It's quite a shift.
It is. From the big picture, the whole world, down to one specific family, it shows how Elohim's plan for everyone unfolds through this chosen line.
When I first read Genesis 11, or whenever I reread it, two things always stand out. These really distinct parts. You've got the drama of Babel, chaos, ambition, divine reaction.
Yeah, very dramatic.
But then, bang, it just switches, almost jarringly, to this quiet, precise genealogy. It totally shifts the focus. What jumps out at you right away?
That's a great way to put it, that tension.
Yeah.
Yeah, what strikes me is how it caps off what scholars call the primeval history, Genesis 1 to 11.
Okay.
It wraps up that whole first section about humanity's rebellion, Elohim's judgment. But then, like you said, it instantly zooms in.
Right.
You see it clearly with the generations of Shem in verse 10, and then the generations of Terah later on.
Verse 27, yeah.
It just perfectly sets the stage for everything that follows.
Yep.
It shows that, while history happens everywhere, the real story, Elohim's redemptive story, is carried through this specific lineage, his people.
So let's unpack that first half then. The Tower of Babel. We get this picture. Unified humanity, one language, same words. And they settle in Shinar, Mesopotamia. And it mentions they migrated from the east. Is that little detail important? It seems kind of minor.
Oh, it's small, but it's loaded, especially in Genesis. That phrase, from the east, often carries this echo of moving away from Elohim's presence.
It's like Adam and Eve.
Exactly. They were exiled east of Eden. Cain, after his sin, goes east.
Ah, okay.
So here, this unified group deciding to settle down, not scatter, like Yahweh commanded after the flood.
Genesis 9, right. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth.
Precisely. Their settling is a direct rejection of that. They're deliberately concentrating, moving away from Yahweh's intended path.
Wow, okay. That adds weight. And their motive is spelled right out. Make a name for ourselves and stop the dispersion. That desire for human glory, human security, that seems to be the heart of the rebellion, doesn't it? What's the flaw it's exposing?
You nailed it. It's pure arrogance. It's saying we don't need Elohim's authority. We'll make our own name famous. We'll guarantee our own security. It directly counters Yahweh's command to scatter. And the deeper thing, it's that human desire to be like Elohim, to elevate ourselves.
And the tower whose top is in the heavens?
Yeah, that's not literal, like they thought they could physically reach heaven. It's hubris. It's symbolic.
Maybe a monument.
A monument to them, to their power, their achievement. An act of idolatry, really. Trying to grab glory, trying to connect with the divine on their own terms, without him.
So Elohim sees this, and he says something striking. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them.
It's a powerful statement.
And confusion of languages, dispersion. Looks like straight judgment, but is there maybe more going on than just punishment?
This is where it gets really, really fascinating. Yes, it's judgment, no question. But it's also profoundly merciful.
Merciful? How so?
Well, Elohim saw where this was headed, this unified, unchecked power in the hands of sinful people.
Yeah.
It would inevitably concentrate evil. Think about the world before the flood, the wickedness that led to that judgment.
Ah, okay. I see.
By confusing their language, he mercifully stopped them from falling into an even deeper, more catastrophic moral state. He actually forced them to obey the original command.
To scatter and fill the earth.
Exactly. So the judgment was also a form of grace.
Yeah.
It stopped them forming this, single tyrannical empire built on rebellion.
That's a perspective shift.
And don't miss the let us go down in verse 7.
Right, the plural, like in Genesis 1.
Yes, Genesis 1.26, Genesis 3.22. These divine council moments, it hints at the Trinity involved right here in this pivotal moment.
Thinking about the structure itself, the sources mention it was likely a ziggurat. What does that historical context add? Why does it matter what kind of tower it was?
Oh, it matters hugely. Knowing it was likely a ziggurat unlocks the full meaning. The Hebrew word migdal points to that.
Okay.
Ziggurats were these huge step temple towers you find all over Mesopotamia, like in Ur, where Abram eventually comes from.
All right.
They weren't just tall buildings. They were religious centers, dedicated to local gods. The idea was they formed a bridge, a connection point between earth and the divine realm, trying to bring the gods down to them.
So not just architectural ambition.
No, it was profoundly religious, but idolatrously religious. It was a monument to their own glory, their own gods, a direct slap in the face to Yahweh, the one true Elohim.
And that other detail, the building materials, bricks and bitumen, not stone, that seems tiny, but you're saying it's significant.
Tiny but tells a huge story. It shows their rebellion wasn't just in their goal, but in their method.
Oh.
It's about rejecting Yahweh's creation.
How so?
Think back, after the flood, what did Noah build his altar from?
Natural stone.
Natural stone.
Yeah.
Humble obedience, using what Elohim provided. But the Babel builders, they chose man-made bricks, fired bricks, and bitumen, this tar-like mortar.
Which is common there, right? Mesopotamia didn't have much stone.
Right. But the choice signifies reliance on human ingenuity, human technology, self-sufficiency, turning away from Elohim's natural provision for a man-made substitute. It shows the rebellion was baked in, literally, from the ground up.
So it's the act, the motive, self-glory, and the method, human invention over divine creation.
Wow.
And the sources call this whole story a polemic, like an argument against other ancient worldviews, specifically Babylonian ones.
That's a great way to understand it. Think about the Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish. It celebrates their god Marduk planning and building Babylon and its ziggurat. It's presented as a divine triumph.
Yeah.
Genesis 11 flips that script entirely. It shows a human attempt at glory, a rebellion that Elohim easily dismantles.
So the message to Israel was,
Yahweh doesn't need your buildings. He doesn't rely on human effort to establish his power. He's the sovereign creator.
Yeah.
The diversity of languages. That wasn't a tragedy. It was his providential judgment to stop evil consolidating. He's in control, even of human defiance.
Speaking of defiance, let's loop back slightly. The sources mention Nimrod from Genesis 10.
Right, the mighty hunter.
Founder of Babel. How does he connect, even though he's not named right here in chapter 11? He seems to embody this spirit.
He really does. Even though he's in the previous chapter, the link is strong. That phrase, mighty hunter before the Lord, the Hebrew, lifnei, can mean in the presence of, but it can also mean in defiance of or against.
So maybe not just a great hunter, but a rebel leader.
Quite possibly. A powerful ruler challenging Yahweh's authority, his city building, his drive to centralize power. That's the essence of the spirit of Babylon.
And that spirit becomes a recurring theme, right?
Throughout Scripture, Babylon represents human systems built on pride, idolatry, and opposition to Elohim's people and plans, right up to Revelation. So Genesis 11, with Nimrod looming in the background, gives the origin story of this spiritual enemy.
Okay, so after all that drama, that rebellion, that judgment, the chapter just pivots hard into this genealogy, from Shem all the way down to Terah, Abram's father. Why this list of names right here, it feels like, I don't know, letting the air out of the story?
I see why it feels that way, but honestly, it's anything but dry. It's actually thrilling in its own way.
Thrilling? A genealogy?
Yes, because it's Elohim showing his faithfulness. This list is the direct continuation of the line of promise.
The line from Seth.
Exactly, from Genesis 5. It's carefully tracing the seed of the woman, promised back in Genesis 3.15.
Right, the one who would crush the serpent's head.
Tracing that seed through all the chaos, through the flood, through Babel's judgment. It connects the post-flood world right to Abram. It sets the stage for Genesis 12.
So it bridges the gap.
Perfectly. It shows how salvation for all nations will come through this one specific, chosen, preserved family line. And notice that rhythm. He lived X years, begat Y, lived Z more years, and died.
Yeah, it's very repetitive.
That drumbeat hammers home human mortality. But each begat is a spark of hope, showing Elohim preserving this precious line.
That rhythm point is insightful, and it makes me think of that name Peleg. Back in Genesis 10, the source highlighted him.
Yes, Peleg.
His name means division because in his days the earth was divided. That's such a specific detail.
And think about what that tells us about Elohim's sovereignty. The name itself, Peleg, meaning division, shows that Elohim's plan to divide humanity was already in motion before the Babel event is even described here in chapter 11.
So he knew it was coming.
It reinforces his foreknowledge, his guidance of history. Babel wasn't some surprise emergency he had to react to. It was part of the plan. It fits with Deuteronomy 32.8. When the Most High divided mankind, he fixed the borders. It was purposeful division.
Okay, this contrast then becomes incredibly sharp. You have humanity at Babel shouting, "Let us make a name for ourselves."
Mm-hmm.
And then, boom, next chapter, Yahweh says to Abram, "I will make your name great." Genesis 12.2. What's the significance of that immediate flip? What messianic principle is embedded there?
It's absolutely foundational, isn't it? It shows the utter futility of trying to grasp glory for ourselves, apart from Elohim. That path leads only to confusion and scattering.
Like Babel.
Exactly. But for those who humbly trust and obey Elohim's call, like Abram, they are promised true, lasting honor, a legacy that comes from Elohim.
And that points forward.
All the way to Yeshua. Philippians 2.9, his name is the name that is above every name. He's the ultimate source of a truly great name for everyone who trusts him. That's like Proverbs 18.10 says, the name of Yahweh is a strong tower.
The righteous run into it and are safe.
Right. That's the true tower, not some man-made brick thing.
And thinking about reversals, the Brit Chadesha, the New Testament, gives us such a clear reversal of Babel, doesn't it? Pentecost just springs to mind.
Absolutely, the perfect bookend. Babel brought confusion of languages, scattering barriers.
Right, division.
But Acts 2, Pentecost.
Yeah.
The Holy Spirit comes down, and what happens? People from every nation under heaven hear the disciples speaking the mighty works of Elohim in their own languages.
Wow. Not one language restored, but understanding across many.
Exactly. It's not about erasing diversity, but achieving a miraculous, spirit-empowered unity that transcends the Babel barriers. Pentecost is the launch of the Messianic gathering of all nations into one body, built not on human pride, but on the Spirit's power and the message of Yeshua.
And that genealogy in Genesis 11, it's not just a bridge to Abram, it's crucial for Yeshua's lineage, too.
Profoundly so. Look at Luke's genealogy, chapter 3.
Okay.
Luke traces Yeshua's line all the way back through David, through Abraham, through Shem, Noah, Adam. It includes those names from Genesis 11, like Peleg, Shelah, Arphaxad.
It's meticulous.
It establishes Yeshua as the true Son of Man, the rightful heir to all the promises made to the patriarchs. He's connected to all humanity, and specifically to this chosen line. Paul even makes that point in Galatians 3.16.
About the seed.
Yes, that the promise to Abraham's seed, singular zera in Hebrew, ultimately points not just to his descendants, but to one specific individual, Yeshua the Messiah. The whole lineage was preserved for him.
So, bringing this all home, what does this ancient story, Genesis 11, mean for us now, today, as followers of Yeshua living in the 21st century?
I think Babel is this timeless warning against, let's call it the Babel spirit.
The Babel spirit.
Yeah, that impulse is still alive and well, isn't it? The drive for self-glory, for human-centered security, for building unity on our terms, often pushing Elohim out of the picture.
You see it personally and globally.
For sure. In personal ambition that ignores Yahweh's calling for us, or in big movements trying to engineer a perfect world using just human ingenuity and tech, thinking we can build our own utopia without the Creator.
So what's the antidote?
The antidote to trying to make a name for ourselves is finding our true identity, our worth, our purpose in the great name Elohim gave his son, Yeshua. That's where real significance lies, not in our own towers.
That's very powerful. And it ties right into Elohim's mission, doesn't it? The scattering itself becomes the reason for the gathering.
It really does. The scattering at Babel, which was a result of sin, becomes the actual context of Elohim's rescue mission, his plan to gather people back to himself from all those scattered nations.
Which culminates in
the Great Commission, Matthew 28.1. Yeshua tells us, go and make disciples of all nations. Babel reminds us our job isn't to build some new human-only utopia.
Right.
It's to faithfully carry the gospel to all the diverse peoples and languages Elohim sovereignly established, bringing them into the true unity, the spiritual unity, found only in Yeshua.
This has been such a rich, deep dive into Genesis 11. So many threads connecting across the whole Bible from the very beginning right through to the Brit Chadesha. It's definitely not just some old story.
No, it's foundational. It shows Yahweh's sovereignty even when humans rebel. It shows his meticulous planning. And it constantly points us forward to Yeshua, the one who brings real unity and the only name that truly lasts.
Well, thank you for joining us on this journey through Genesis 11. We really look forward to exploring the next chapter with you as we continue our deep dive into the Word.
As we wrap up today's study, let's just pause and reflect on what we've heard. So as we reflect on Babel, maybe ask yourself this: where in my own life, or maybe in the world I see around me, where are those echoes of trying to build our own tower, trying to make our own name great, instead of humbly seeking the great name that only comes through Yeshua? That's something to ponder. And now, receive the blessings of Yahweh.